City. We're about to go talk to Mayor Kim Norton about how important it is to hug your damn kids. Mayor Norton.
How you doing?
Good, how about you?
Come on in.
This is my partner, this is one of my producers.
Hello there.
Dominique right there.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Come on in.
So, how are you?
Sit down. Are you sitting or are you going to stand? Or?
I'll probably
He's
stand.
actually just going to be grabbing photos for us
Oh,
because
right.
I'm going to link you up with a microphone.
What are we talking about?
The main thing is literally all
I'm
we
just
want
listening.
is a snippet of you telling the importance of the continued conversation of mental health, which is exactly what we're doing.
Feedback through eye contact, touch, body language, their reaction to that baby, so that the baby knows they're understood and being related to, and that their needs are being met from the time they're born. And if they are not tended to and their needs are not tended to, and that eye contact is there and the physical touching and, you know, patting and soothing isn't there, that they become detached from other adults, not just their parent, but that detachment can happen to other human beings. And so it's really important from the time kids are born, and particularly those first 3 years, to build the relationship. But it's not natural for everyone. People don't understand that whole part. And so if we're going to mitigate some of the traumas that you're talking about, some of it has to come really early on.
So interesting.
It comes naturally for some people, particularly if you've had that in your life. But if you were raised with a parent who maybe didn't attach very well to the child or know how to do it, you may not know how to do it yourself.
So interesting because Gabor Mate, I was talking with him last Wednesday, and he said, Nick, really, if the parents just hug their kids for the first 4 years of their life, everything would be okay. The problem is we have that disconnect. And generationally, like my mom, for instance, wasn't hugged a lot as a child, and that played out in my life. And I'm seeing to it to break that cycle with my daughter. Hug your kids, hug your kids, hug your kids. And I hope long term it's gonna play a foundational role in her life and her wherewithal to be able to just be a unconditionally loving human being. But we won't know, time will tell, but I really think the proof is in the pudding. Think of our friends who have become fully functioning adults. Look at their two-parent household. It's a very loving household that didn't have a lot of trauma in it, hopefully.
And if you're coming with a history of trauma, you know, those attachments can help mitigate it. But if you don't, the trauma just carries on, you know, to the next generation, without even being addressed.
This program, how long has it been around that you're talking
The
about?
Cradle to Career is a relatively new. It's been around for a couple of years now, based on research, and there's a national, I want to call it Strive, but there's a national program that it's based on. The attachment theory is something some of the local psychologists and social workers learn about, and our public health knows. That's why at-risk families, or perhaps social services gets involved with the family, or a baby is born, and public health used to do like 3 visits with the family. Some people felt it was intrusive, but it really was a way to offer expertise to parents who were tentative, who weren't sure what was the right thing to do when you're raising a child. That's what those were supposed to help with. And unfortunately, over the years, funding comes and goes because it often comes from, you know, state and federal levels. And those are programs that get cut quite often, which is really too bad because, you know, it's helping provide the first best step for kids as they develop.
Literally the front line. Is there anything we can do to see to it that program sticks around?
I'm not even sure exactly where it's at right now with its level of funding, but, you know, I'll connect with my public health people and find out where they're at with that. When I lived in Missouri years ago, it was mandated. Every parent got a call from public health. You could say you don't want them there, but that was just part of how they operated, to try to make certain that every family got at least a touch of public health to say, you know, here's what you need to do. Here are the best, you know, do you have any questions? Those kinds of things. So
think of a well-educated community that is forward-thinking like that. they would welcome it.
Mhm.
They would want it because we can always grow and get better as parents. Because you would know as a mother, we can always do things better.
Even when we're trying to do our best.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I've learned, where even mistakes make us, they help us grow, but at the same time, we can always do better.
Yeah,
And
we
I
can't
thi-
let them define us.
Yeah.
We just have to learn from them and
Mhm.
do something different the next time. So what prompted you to find these 3 individuals? And are you having them come together for an event, or are you speaking with them individually and publicizing? Or what is the
So,
format for what you're doing?
Where the minds meet is where we bring them all together.
So in one place?
Yep, one place, same night. It's a one-night event because, as we know, people's attention spans are shorter than ever. So what we do is we have them, and the cool thing is due to the topic at hand, they're basing their talks around it, which is cool. So they're treating their typical presentations as malleable. So Dr. Gabor Mate, we're doing a live podcast with him to kick off the day. And then that goes straight into that'll be a Q&A at the end with
Okay.
him after that hour. And then that turns into a panel with Dr. Dennis McKenna and Dr. Joe Tuffer to talk about their research, what they're doing, and their expertise. And then we go into a break that'll eat up the first half. That's kind of the exclusive part. It'll be private. And then it goes into presentations, which is kind of for the common public. And that's why I would like to invite everybody to come to that. However we can get them there, the specialists who need to hear these messages. And they might only take 10% of it out of the room. That's okay, as long as they can grab something.
Sure.
Really what prompted me to bring these minds together was the dire need that our community needs. And I think it's from, coaching youth sports for the last 5 years, dealing with parents, also my podcast, my show, talking with people who just throw their hands up. They might be a specialist in one thing, but they don't have the answers. So I really kind of gravitated towards who Joe Rogan has on his show, because he gets to talk to world leaders and people, leading minds. And so that's what I did with these guys. Is same thing I did last year with who I brought out. I wanted to talk about entrepreneurialism. So what better person to get than the leading entrepreneur on the planet, in Gary Vaynerchuk. So we did that. We've seen a boom here in entrepreneurialism. We've seen a boom here in video content. People are creating it left and right. Many of them attended our event last year, which is awesome. So it shows our effect. It shows our influence. So I'm taking that to the next level, where I want to talk about something that has no discrimination to it. So not everyone's a born entrepreneur. Not everyone's meant to be one. It's okay, but really it's a mentality thing. Technically, everybody and their mother's an entrepreneur in some way, shape, or form. You make a decision, you end up behind a desk. You made decisions. A lot of people are small business owners nowadays, so it does have an effect. With mental health, every single morning we wake up and we're making a decision. Some people make poor decisions, some people make the correct decisions, but regardless, it's all based on mental health. And someone who struggles with depression, for instance, it might be seasonal depression. They literally see a funk happen when the weather starts changing, less sun, things like that. So we're really just trying to give people the conversation with outlets, and let them know that you don't have to just go to Big Blue to get your answers. A lot of times the answers can be found within yourself. And I think that's where people hang their hat on. If Big Blue doesn't have the answers, then I'm not going to find them. But the truth is, we have all the answers at our fingertips due to connection. This is how I book all my speakers, is through the internet. And we can do that with our resources. Things like the program you're talking about, where a single parent who's struggling, she can find the resources. It's just a matter of making the decision to go out and find them. And that's a mental health thing, where we either do or we don't. There is no in between. And there are so many people with their own mental health, they're dragging their feet and they can't help it. They are not, say, walking a mile a day, or they're not eating correctly. That all stems back to the same thing. And I think the quicker we talk about this, then the quicker we might find a solution.
I've certainly had my share of contact this past year with a lot of our homeless population. And one of my guys in here just a little bit ago looking for housing. I've been homeless for well over a year. But for a lot of those folks, it is mental health that is at the bottom of what's happening in their lives. And they want it to change, but how do you, sometimes you don't know you need the help, sometimes you do, but no one can find you because you're homeless. You don't have a place for people to contact you or for you to easily access services. So I've been, as we're kicking up our warming shelter and our other, trying to find day centers and whatever for people, we also have to remember how to have the resources available for people to be able to have that choice to get mental health treatment in that population too, and not forget them.
Without them having an address, it's so tough for them to even get a job.
Most of them, their mental health is going to preclude their being employed. It's a chicken and egg thing with so many of them. Until they can get stable in a home with a roof over their head and some continuity in their lives to get services that they need, they're not going to be able to hold a job. They're just not stable to do that. And on the other hand, if you don't have a job, where are you going to get the money to pay for rent? And so it's this, it's quite a cycle. So we're trying to find ways, collaborating with our community partners in the county and nonprofits to say, how can we build a system around people in need, people at risk, so that when they're ready, the services are available for them, whether it be mental health treatment, chemical dependency treatment, and family social services. Many of them have lost their children, they need to work to get their children back. There's many, many aspects to it, but until people have a place that's home, it's really hard to get any of that going.
Would that be clinic-based?
No, I think we're looking around the country. There's a housing first kind of concept that if you can get people housed in the community and stabilized, then you can be there for them and they can access the services they need. So it's sort of a philosophical change on how we do this. Yeah, rather than institutionalize people or many people don't want to make the choice. You talk about people make choices. They don't know how to make the right choice right yet. And so if you can get them in that house, get them in a dry, warm place, it's a start.
But we got to get transportation figured out first.
Oh, we got to get housing, we got to get transportation, we got to get...
That's a whole nother topic.
It is. Do you really want to go there?
Well, no, I think it's funny because that's a topic, I just throw my hands up. Because I don't know left from right, I don't have the answers, and I don't think anyone does. We had this big dream with the DMC and transportation and how it was going to take place. It was A or B, and it seems like we've kind of skirted over to B because it was almost mandatory, like we had no other option.
There's so much in play right now with transportation and transit, so much. Is it parking rides? Is it building more downtown parking lots? Is it building far away parking lots? Is it?
Think of the capitalism though and the economic boost that can come from just transportation as a whole economically around these hubs from a standpoint of business, small business, and how they can thrive around
it. If we build a hub. But if instead what we get is a parking ramp and no one wants to build around that parking ramp because the land's too expensive or we don't have a plan. Not so much. So that's I'm really apprehensive right now about what we're doing, and that we're in such a hurry to address the problem that's been there for a long time, but is suddenly being pushed even further and faster, I think, by Mayo Clinic and their needs, and some local area businesses coming in and their needs, that we're going to end up with just parking ramps if we're not very careful.
That's a slippery slope.
It is. And so how do we make sure that we have the full package, the transit village, that's the vision? How do we make sure that happens rather than a parking ramp with expensive land next to it that no one could afford to build anything affordable on? And that's my fear about what's going to happen. So I think there's a lot in play and a lot of negotiation that's going to happen around that.
Oh, we need to give Patrick Sieb some Adderall, give him a pencil and a paper. Patrick, figure it out. I'm just kidding.
Oh boy.
No, but I think the hubs are so cool. We live right off 2nd Street. Just the idea of them, because we could be almost world leaders in that regard if we did it correctly.
If we do it correctly. And I'm a little worried that we're moving so fast, we're going to get so fast, and then we'll have missed the opportunity, and it'll be we're not gonna get it built.
Yep.
So,
Where there's a will, there's a way.
I know,
And
there's
I
a
think-
lot of negotiation and pushing and pulling going
Yeah.
on.
Well, our city has a strong backbone. We've got a corn tower.
I got my
Do you-
picture over there.
You got your picture.
John Friesel.
Oh!
When I
hold on.
first got into office, they thought I needed this. The world's largest ear of corn water tower.
How'd you end up with that?
Kevin Lund and John Friesel
Oh, Papa
showed up
Lund.
in my, yes.
Papa Lund.
Every mayor should have one of these. Yep. Oh, well.
Okay, Kim, I have, I think, yeah, this is an important question. I want to know what the mayor does for her mental health.
I took the morning off, finally. I needed to. It's been busy because it's a 7-day-a-week job. So every now and then, just decompress. Yeah, no, I haven't been taking enough of it, and I'm kind of realizing that. So having a day where I can just work on paperwork, where nobody is coming in, is really helpful. Because otherwise, all that sits in here. I've got 2,500 emails to do. I've got, 30,000, unread emails on my personal phone, that haven't been, so it's all those kinds of things, they just weigh there. And so making sure that I can set time aside to do that kind of stuff and not always just be running. Yeah.
Do you have a mindfulness practice?
So I will show you my birthday gift from my husband, which he made me take to work today.
Thich Nhat Hanh. How to find joy and meaning in each hour of the day.
He thought this might help me.
Mm-hmm.
And he also got me a watercolor book and some art lessons.
To decompress in that way.
Uh-huh. Yep.
He knows you all too well.
He's trying to find some ways for me to make time because I wasn't making enough time. So yeah, so this is my mindfulness and do a little art.
You have bitten off so much. Well, because
Haven't we all?
Kim, but
We all
the
do.
initiatives you've taken on, I'm not gonna lie, I'm impressed because to see you travel so much, to grow, to learn, to advance, you're not just doing that for yourself and your own mental capacity, you're doing that for our city.
Yeah, and hopefully we can transfer what we're learning, like with the Harvard Bloomberg program. I just met with the administration today. How can we make certain that what we're learning individually is played out in the city? How do we embrace this as a community, not just an individual? And so one of the initiatives we have that Bloomberg Harvard chose Rochester for is a collaborative project. So they're going to train 8 of our city employees, not me, but 8 employees. They're sending them to New York for a week, and they're going to train them on collaborative partnerships, how to work together. So
Do you have the names of those people? Is Jenna one of them?
they haven't been chosen yet, so they're going to come here, Harvard and Bloomberg. So that group is sending some people here the week before Thanksgiving, I think, or sometime, and they're going to kind of give us a presentation about what they want. And after the presentation, which will go to, I think the elected officials, but city employees and top level, not start with that, and then after they're here. We're going to choose 8, and I think actually the 8, the problem, because you choose a scenario or an issue or something you're trying to find a solution to. I think we might take the transit villages actually.
Okay.
And then we'll send, maybe DMC, the county, the city, send a team of people to New York to go through this training to how to really have a collaborative process and negotiate. There's negotiation involved in this too. So I think, and then afterward, then they come back at the end. Of the process and come into our community to debrief in hopes that they can push it out. So it's not just those 8 people. You demonstrate how you did it to everyone. So that's exciting to me because that's taking the experience I had, bringing it to 2 of my top leadership people, and then the 3 of us having an initiative and pushing it out in the whole city. So that's exciting to me.
Butterfly effect.
Yeah.
Send it out.
Yeah.
with this headway you're making, because you are, even if it feels like you're running in place right now,
Hamster on a wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see, because you watched Ardell Brady head off into the sunset?
Yeah, I'm sure he's having a tough time. He loved what he did here.
He definitely did.
Yeah.
But he squeezed as much out of the orange as he possibly could, I think. He just did so much, and it got to the point where his head's going against the wall. He can only do so much.
And his wife was quite ill at the end, and
Exactly.
he needed to be with family.
Yeah.
I mean, that was certainly part of it for him.
So your energy has taken over. Now, say in 2, 3, 4 years, we'll go 2 years, do you feel like there is going to be some noticeable change with what you're heading right now in the community?
I hope so. I mean, I hope we'll be, we've certainly worked on being more transparent, but really having a collaborative approach that also has meaningful community engagement. And, you know, that the Jenna down in the communication department, and now we have communication people in all of our departments. I think that's helping. I think there's been a lot more communication about what's happening in the city of late than there used to be. So that's positive. And then, you know, we've got other initiatives. We're working on the sustainability and resiliency. That'll be announced on Monday. We have a lot that's been going on kind of in the background. That'll be kind of out there. So all these things are starting, but you won't see the results for a couple of years. So I think in 2 years we will see demonstrable results.
Whatever the word is.
Whatever works.
Are you excited? Because let me preface this. It seems like, and this is why I bring who I bring here and how I sell them on coming here, because it's tough. It's not easy to get world leaders to come here when I'm not even the Mayo Clinic. I sell them on this big idea of we're a city that doubles in population on a monthly basis due to visitors alone. That is very rare to do or happen. On top of that, long term, we're the medical capital of the world. We are in the heart of the country. We have so much history here, and there's so much possibility. They don't know the headaches that go on here and the things we're battling right now, things like transportation.
Yeah.
Are you excited for the growth and the change that's coming, or are you stressed out, or a little bit of both?
It's stressful, but it's stressful in that you want to make sure you do it right. And so it's exciting. I mean, this is a really exciting time. And when I talk to other mayors who have boarded up downtowns and blight in their communities, and not that we don't have the big box stores that are closing like everywhere does, but we're a growing community. We have more people coming. We have really exciting new development, new businesses starting. I mean, what else could you want for a community? But we also want to make sure that the people who live here are happy too. And so it's finding that balance. So, no, I'm excited about it. It's not going to be easy, and I know it's not going to be easy. And yeah, it's a little stressful. And so I need to do my mindfulness.
Will you ever get us will you ever get us a water park?
I don't know if a water park is in the really near future, actually. So I'll just tell you, this is funny. So I took a project to this Mayor's Institute in City Design, and it's that property right across the street. I have all my projects are on my desk right now. So I went and I said, we've got these properties. We got the one, so let's see, put City Hall this way, right? This is where the farmer's market is, and this is right across the street, Legends, that's Holiday Inn, and this is at Holiday Inn parking garage. We need to do something with these pieces of property. They're city-owned.
This was supposed to be Bloom, correct?
And it's not anymore.
No longer
right?
Bloom.
So I took it to them and I said, you know, here we've got these projects, what should we do, you know? And so we went, and it was really fun. So this isn't necessarily what's going to happen, but this is what 7 or 8 different kinds of architects, just while I was describing the place, what they came up with, they said, you know, don't just look at those 2 places, look at the whole district. And so they were suggesting, you know, floating elements in here that might have fire on them, put some stuff in the water in the winter, get a machine that comes through that clears a spot down the center so people could ice skate to work. I mean, they're like being super creative. Here, build a tall building, and the next one steps down and put a sled where you can go up on the roof of the building and sled down and come out into the water. I mean, they were, you know, would be frozen, but, you know, they had all these really, they were just like coming up with all sorts of cool ideas. You know, they have there's a building in Norway that has a ski slope on the roof of it's like a waste energy burner or something, and you ski on it. And they said, well, maybe just do sledding, do something and sled on the roof of the building, and people could, I don't know, they had all sorts of ideas.
Futuristic.
Could you put something in here that had sports events in it? They said a maker's market or market hall on the first floor, and you know, this housing could have workspace on the basement, on the lower level where you could work, but then you could live upstairs, you know. And so they had all these really fun ideas. Bridges, right across the street over here, have it's something called the Barn. That's a red and purple pavilion that's lighted up. You know, that's there. Build some housing. Instead of this big parking lot in front of the government, put an office building. Mm-hmm. You know, and they have bridges all across the street to get over there. They said you have a beautiful park that's completely wasted behind there, except on Sunday nights, which I told them, you know, we do have the Sunday night stuff. No, activate that. Find a way to use it more. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so this is the kind of fun stuff that we get to do. Whether we're going to put this out for an RFP, you know, that land, those two properties. Well, actually, this property, the balloon property.
You get to brainstorm.
And so, you know, I've got they said, make a cool, iconic cultural building. Mm-hmm. And they said one level could have like glass overlooking the river, and you could do, it could be a batting cage, it could be a golfing, you know, into a net, but you're really looking out over the water. You know, it could have garage doors that open up for good weather, you know, when the weather's good. And yeah, they had all sorts of fun ideas. But
Andy Schafolius, please get us a Top Golf. We need a Top Golf.
Yeah, but see, that's the kind of thing they're saying in here. What if we had an indoor park? Mm-hmm. We have, you know, long winters. Could we have an indoor park?
That'd be awesome.
I don't know about a water park indoors, but they did think we could be doing more down here to activate, particularly the water. I thought, well,
we have enough of it.
Yeah, we are thinking of on the long-term parks plan doing splash pads in all the, you know, out of all the parks, most of the parks, a lot of the parks, rather than just having, you know, like one place where everybody has to go, have stuff all over the city.
All over, instead of just, say, taking over Soldiers Field and putting a big water park there.
They may do something like that. They definitely need to upgrade both of our swimming pools, but could we also do splash pads in local parks? So mom and dad can just walk down the street, and, you know, they have them in Oak Park, Illinois, where my son lives, and you know, mom just goes and turns it on, and it's like this, it's almost like a shower, you know, sprinkly, it looks like a big flower, and drops water, and she's got her infant in her hand, and they're playing out there. It was just great, and I thought. And it's a cistern, so it, you know, recycles and cleans the water, and I thought, what a great idea.
They have one at the Minnesota Zoo, too, where it's just a great stopping point, or a pit stop.
Yep.
When your kid's sick of looking at the animals, you can go get them wet.
Yep, and I saw one, Omaha Zoo had a thing too, which sprayed out like really misty, whatever, just in the walkway, and all the kids were standing. And of course, it was 87 or something over there too. So, yeah, no, so we had to do those kind of things. Be creative, think big.
Long term, what do you envision, and what has your travels helped you envision with the possibility between across the river over there with the Civic Center?
Well, we need to activate that. We have a new director. My hope is he'll have some really great ideas. The one thing they said about that, other than we have a large open space in the back that's underutilized, and that we should consider doing something in the back with cars being able to access the building, because we took out that circle in the front. The one thing they said about that was it cannot be called a civic center if you want to get big shows.
Almost as if I told Brad Jones last year, hey, Brad Jones, let's call it Quick Trip Arena.
They said you need to a civic center has a completely different connotation to people who might look at booking. And I said, so can we have like, whether it's the Mayo Convention and Civic Center, whether it's the Rochester Civic and Mayo Convention Center, can we somehow find a way to break it apart so that it can be marketed as a convention center with an arena versus a civic center, which has a more local social, and I don't think we want to get rid of that. We want the community to be able to use that facility and the art center and the theater, but we don't want to undersell ourselves so that people don't look at us because we have a name that turns people off in the larger market. So we got to deal with that, I think.
So if
That's what their advice was
yeah,
at the
and
Institute.
that was my advice to them too.
Yeah.
So if I throw the biggest event in that arena's history in April, which is coming up,
You got a little time.
will you let me write out a check and name the arena?
Oh, well, we'll have to see what the process
Throw
is.
me a
for
number.
that. Let's see what the process is for that. But well, that'd be great if you could fill an arena.
Well, that's the plan. We have it booked for 2 days. We have something cooking because I'm sick of seeing it vacant.
Breaks my heart. I look at it every
Mm-hmm.
single day. And that art center, which is an absolutely stunning space, is empty far too much of the time. So I'm with you on that.
Together. Oh, better one. There we go.
You're playing with me here. Absolutely hug your kids. So it is vitally important that this community continues to talk about the importance of mental health. I commend you for bringing together a group of people that are expert in this area that will continue to talk about it, to raise up the importance of it in this community so that we can all learn and grow together, help to solve these problems that face members of our community, our friends, our family, and our loved ones, and see if we can't make a difference in their lives. Where the Minds Meet, November 1st.